This week, Farm Journal is focused on the next generation of farmers. What's on the minds of the next generation of decision makers, and how are they positioned to step into a leadership role in their family business? We'll kick it off with a next-gen dairy producer from California. But first, it's time to check in on the used equipment market.
Live, pulling the next gen forward via Farm Journal Studios, this is AgriTalk. This morning we begin with a conversation with Machinery Pete Greg Peterson. Then it's Becky Nyman from Nyman Farms. Directly following the news, Brett Waltz from BAM WX. I'm handsome newsman Davis Michelson. Now, say hello to your beloved, benevolent host, Chip Flory.
All right, Davis, how you doing, buddy?
Good morning, amigo.
Yeah, brother. Beautiful day in Northeast Iowa right now.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the humidity has left the building. It's past fantastic. It is spectacular.
Wow. You are
Yes.
fired up. I love it.
Dude, well, I better be right now because it's coming. The heat is on its way.
I'm afraid so.
And we will be dealing with it at midweek and then trending in that direction. We'll be talking to Brett Waltz from BAM WX about that coming up here in just a little bit.
Yeah.
Of course, it's Monday. That means it's time to get the update from Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And then Next Gen Week here at Farm Journal, talking to the next generation of farmers, the next generation of leadership in the family businesses across the country. And Becky Nyman is with Nyman Dairy Farms out in Hilmer, California.
All
Becky
right.
will be joining us coming up in just a little bit. Not only is she a leader in her farm, in her family farm, she's also a leader in the industry, and it seems to me has jumped into those leadership roles with a lot of enthusiasm. So we'll find out what's making Becky tick, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. You bet.
Yeah, should be really cool. Should be really cool.
Mhm.
Everything good down your way?
Gorgeous weekend this weekend, as you were mentioning here in KC. It was beautiful. Yesterday, spent the whole day outside. Because we've got all sorts of trees and stuff. It's gorgeous, but when the wind blows,
dude,
you tend to find all the sticks.
Gosh.
I had to cut up some branches
Dude.
and stuff. I got a sunburn. It was phenomenal. I loved every second of it. Yard farming in KC.
You are talking my number one complaint of 2024. That is picking up sticks.
Yep.
I've done it more times this year than I've done it combined in the last 3 years. It's just
Same.
crazy.
Yep.
Just crazy. Let's get to the news.
Well, the National Weather Service is looking for a slight risk of severe thunderstorms over parts of the northern and central high plains and the southeast today. A slight risk of excessive rainfall over parts of the southern tip of Florida on Tuesday. There are excessive heat warnings and watches and heat advisories over northern and central California and the southwest for tomorrow.
We'll get more from Brett here in a moment.
You bet. Well, Chip, the cost of owning a home in the United States has risen by 26% since 2020 due to increased expenses, including taxes, insurance, and utilities amid high inflation. According to Bankrate, the average annual cost for owning and maintaining a typical family-style home, excluding mortgage payments, this isn't even your mortgage payments here, annually the average is $18,118. That figure was derived in March.
That's that is crazy that it is that much and up by 26%. That's why you and I talk about the affordability issue all the time.
That's right. Well, Chip, reports over the weekend said Saudi Arabia's petrodollar agreement with the U.S., which expired Sunday, might not be renewed. The 50-year agreement was put in place in 1974. It saw Saudi Arabia sell its oil exclusively in U.S. dollars, with the U.S. promising military security and economic development in exchange. The report said Saudi Arabia is now working more closely with China, which is trying to undermine the global dominance of the greenback.
Yeah, it'll be difficult to get that petrodollar agreement back in place.
Well, the Biden administration has put out 2 solicitations for the purchase of a total of 6 million barrels of crude oil to put in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The recent decline in oil prices spurred the action. In 22-23, Brazil surpassed the United States in corn exports and is projected to maintain its lead. Brazilian soybean exports nearly doubled those of the U.S. in the same period and are expected to remain the largest globally. Wheat export patterns have been stable despite geopolitical conflicts with ongoing uncertainties around Russia due to weather and war-related issues.
Yeah, back in the early 90s, the doomsayers were saying, geez, it's just a matter of time before Brazil overtakes us. Well, that matter of time was 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so it took some time. But once it happened, Davis, man, oh man, just slammed us out of the market.
Yep. Well, Chip, boosted by the popularity of forage policies, crop insurance coverage exceeded 500 million acres in 2023, marking the highest level ever. Enrollment in crop insurance has surged 85% since 2016, this according to USDA data. Here's a piece of good news. The Coast Guard plans to reopen the Port of Baltimore Channel following additional dredging, marking the final step in clearing 50,000 tons of debris. Companies are beginning to schedule shipments to Baltimore with full recovery anticipated by mid-July. And finally here, quickly, Wyoming became the 12th state where bird flu has infected dairy cows. State veterinarian Hallie Hazel said on Friday the highly pathogenic avian influenza infection was confirmed. She stressed the risk to human health and cattle is low. Chip, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Davis. Let's bring in Brett Waltz, BAMWX.com. How you doing, Brett?
I'm doing pretty good, Chip. How are you doing? Enjoying the weather?
Oh, man, it's gorgeous, but it sounds like we got some heat coming our way.
Yeah, it's beautiful in the short term. Next couple of days will be really nice. But as we go further into this week, that heat really starts to expand, really for the first time of the year. It's not record breaking or anything like that, but I think it gets progressively hotter as we work later and later into the month of June.
The wind yesterday was really something. I was out driving around, went through some small dust storms in northeast Iowa. Are the winds here to stay this year?
I think that the next 7 to 10 days, you may still have a couple of gusty days that you're going to deal with. But as that heat dome and the heat in general begins to ramp up later on into this month, I'd expect you deal more with those muggy, hot days without a lot of wind. The bigger concern would be severe storm clusters that could bring wind in that fashion.
Right. Well, and there's at least slight risk for some severe storms across the middle of the country here this week, right?
Yeah, there is. I need to watch today across the western plains, and then I think especially as we work into Wednesday and Thursday, there is another little front that works through parts of the upper Midwest and then parts of eastern Iowa, Illinois, Indiana into Thursday and Thursday night. I think that there could be some strong storms in there. Wind probably the biggest threat with those.
Okay. I'm not hearing any warnings about crop stress in your outlook right now, Brett. Yes, no?
Yeah, the biggest issue is just the heat. North central U.S. will be active still. More concerned about maybe southern and southeast plains, lower Ohio Valley to be hotter and drier late June into July.
Gotcha. Brett, thanks, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Yep, thank you, Chip.
You bet. Brett Waltz, BAMWX.com. Okay, it's Monday morning. That means it is time for a conversation with Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete, next on AgriTalk.
Machinery Pete here, folks. This segment of AgriTalk brought to you by our friends at Dakota Ag Innovations, makers of Dakota Shine, the best way I've seen to fix faded paint. Go to dakotashine.com or call 888-996-7801.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm your host, Chip Flory. Glad that you are with us on this Monday morning, which means it's time for Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete. How you doing, Greg?
Hey, I'm doing well, Chip. How's your Monday going so far?
Man, I'm telling you, it's gorgeous out here. You home or are you on the road?
Well, I'm home, but I'm out of the office at the moment. We're having a little construction done at the home place today, so
Gotcha.
I'm out in the pickup. Didn't want to have any band saws going over the jacket.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So do all the listeners. Appreciate it a bunch. All right, let's get to it. What do you got for a pick of the week?
Hey, pick of the week. I'm guessing maybe folks saw this Saturday, this weekend when I posted it. There was a collector auction Saturday out in Diller, Nebraska by good folks at Polk Auction. A couple items really popped. They had a rare one, a 1972 John Deere 4000 diesel power shift, low profile. Only 25 of those buggers made back in the day, 50 plus years ago. And it brought $60,000. That's the fourth highest auction price ever on a John Deere 4000. And, those 4000s, Chip, are kind of interesting. They were sort of known as a poor man's 4020 back in the day. But, these rare configurations, muscle tractor era, they've, of course, really taken off the last 10, 15 years. Now, that at 60K is the fourth highest. I posted a blog, and we had a little fun looking backwards. A couple fun stories on the two highest 4000s ever.
Okay.
The first one was August 27th of 2015, so 9 years ago, Corcoran, Minnesota. And that was an even more rare configuration. That if you have a gas power shift on your 4000, there was only 9 of those made.
Jeez.
Okay, so this farmer had one, and he had an auctioneer, my friend Kurt Amman. Everyone knows Kurt Amman Auction, great outfit there, specialized collector sales. Kurt came up and looked at it, and the guy didn't really know what he had. And when Kurt went in to look at it, he's like, "Sir, do you know what you have there?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's a crappy old loader tractor." He goes, No, that's a one of 9. And when it sold on the auction, it went for $82,500.
Oh,
and I wished I could have been standing there to see the seller's face when he sold that thing. But
right.
That's the record holder. The second highest one was actually 10 years ago this month.
Okay.
I posted a YouTube video from Bedford, Iowa. Another one of those 72 diesel power shift low profile. That brought 71K. So anyway, fun memories with those John Deere 4000s.
Yeah, no doubt. And you've got another 4000 story, don't you, from Ohio?
Yeah. Last Saturday, a week earlier, in Montpelier, Ohio, a little auction. They had a 1971 John Deere 4000 diesel synchro, second owner, 7,245 hours on it. Nice rig. I mean, nothing, not parade-ish, just a nice solid 50-year-old tractor. And that brought 28.5, so good solid price there. So yeah, it was a good week for John Deere 4000s.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, let's shorten up the life of these of the equipment and look at some later model stuff at that dealer auction in Larchwood, Iowa. This looked like a pretty good test of the market.
Yeah, I found this really interesting, Chip. It was last Tuesday. Our friends at the Steffes Group online dealer auction, Larchwood, Iowa. I believe it's Kibble Equipment, a great dealer there, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa. A couple items that caught my eye. They had a 22 model John Deere X9 1000 combine, 220 separator hours on it with warranty. It brought $588,000.
Okay.
Now, a couple ways to look at that. Okay, that's the fourth highest auction price ever in a combine, so huge check, right? $588K. But for comparison, the exact same auction company for the exact same dealer had an online sale December 4th, so 6 months ago. And they had on that sale another 22 model X9 1000. That had more, almost double the hours, 376 SEP hours. But 6 months ago, it brought 621K versus 588 last Tuesday. So, that's a $33,000 break. Combines have been recalibrating for a little longer now. Also on that sale, what we're seeing a bigger adjustment right now maybe is with the late model high horse tractors. They had a 22 model John Deere 9RX 640, 425 hours, brought 546K again. Big check. But that's the 8th highest auction price. And a year ago, or 10 months ago, on the same auction company, Steffes had a sale in Williston, North Dakota, with another 22 model 9RX 640, with a few, more hours actually, 520 hours. And 10 months ago, it brought 661. And again, 546 on Tuesday. So a little bigger adjustment with the tractors right now.
Yeah.
They also had a sprayer on that sale of a note, a 23 model John Deere 612R, 157 hours, went for 451. So, yeah, some big checks written there last Tuesday.
Okay, so this recalibration that you have been talking about, as far as I can tell, I've been trying to keep some notes on this, and I know that you have been too. But tractors feel like 15% and combines feel like 5%. Is that kind of what you're seeing?
Well, it's interesting. I think I just ran some numbers for Ag Day. We did a segment this morning. And we looked at last year on the S600 series combines.
Okay.
And the larger ones, the S670s, 680s, 690s, average auction price last year in 23 was right at 20%. Now the smaller one, the S660, was only down 2%. People get that because smaller combines, they don't make as many. They're harder to find. Not everybody needs a big old humongous one. So they're holding better. They're only down 2%.
Okay.
Now if you bump up in class, we see, those S700 series and the same with Red and all others. Yeah, that drop last year was kind of that high teens percentage on auction price.
Okay.
And this year, it hasn't dropped as much on combines. Now, the tractors, we're just a year behind. We're getting that bigger drop this year, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Another online auction, DPA auctions, that 20 John Deere 9420 RX. What's the story there?
Yeah, that was last Wednesday at DPA Auctions, like you say, Chip. Great online firm there. They had a sale where a 20 model 9420 RX out of Kentucky, so a little bit south, which, 10 over the 34 years I've been doing this would normally used to be a little lighter, not so much the last, 4 years since the pandemic, but 2,605 hours, that brought 302,000. I thought that was actually pretty good. They had another tractor on that auction at no sale that was an interesting one. It was a 1978 John Deere 8630 from Illinois with a Kinsey conversion kit, the Cummins 855 in it. I think it was like 6,600 hours, give or take, with a 3-point. The bid got up to 25,750, so I don't know what the seller wanted for it, but that's what the market would go up to that day. So those Kinsey conversions are always attract lots of interest on those babies.
Yeah. Okay. What are you watching this week?
Well, there's an interesting little sale tomorrow in Fairfax, Minnesota. That's by Kirchhoff Auction and Real Estate. And I got to shout out to Fairfax. Two of my all-time favorite equipment jockeys are from Fairfax. Heath Blott and Monty Sandifer, two guys I've known for many years. They're helpful to me when I started out. And Fairfax is a great town right on Highway 4 in Minnesota there. But anyway, tomorrow, the Blair Anderson Estate. And if you're looking for a nice skid steer, folks, they got a 22 New Holland C345 on tracks, 160 hours on it. Also an antique John Deere 420 wide front with turf rear tires, kind of cool rig there. And a 2014 Polaris Sportsman 550 four-wheeler with just over 1,800 miles. So again, It's Kirchhoff Auction and Real Estate. I just threw a note on our Facebook page about it if you're interested. So should be a good one there.
Good deal. Okay. Talk to me about Greenville, Ohio. Was that auction this past weekend?
Yep, it was on Saturday. Bussey Brothers Auctioneers had the sale. Big, huge sale. Just a couple interesting items. They had a 2004 McCormick CX75 tractor, 566 original hours, mechanical front. That went for $29,700. We've talked about wheel loaders being hot. They had a 2017 Case 1121G, just under 8,100 hours. That brought $125,000. And for you folks in the market for grain trailers, just wanted to put in your craw, they had a 22 Wilson DWH 651B 41 foot, go for $45,100. So strong price there, but grain trailers, a little bit of that heat's come off versus 2 years ago when literally you could not find a new one to purchase. So
right.
$45,100 on that 22 model there Saturday.
Right. All right. Great.
One other interesting one I'll throw out. They did have a 1954 International Super W6, very late serial number, brought $5,625. So that was kind of cool too.
Very cool. Greg, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds great, Chip. Have a good week.
You too. You too. That is Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete. Coming up next Gen with Becky Nyman, Nyman Dairy Farms.
Time for Markets Now with the experts from Pro Farmer.
Joining us now, Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady. There are some plus signs for the daily changes in the grain trade, but boy, this wheat market really seems to be setting the tone with some sharp declines, right?
Yeah, so an extension of last week's sharp selling in the wheat market here to kick off the week. Double-digit losses across all three of the markets, SRW, HRW, and spring wheat. And a couple factors at play. The technicals, obviously. The seasonal pressure with U.S. Winter wheat harvest ramping up. And then we got the dollar trading about 400 points higher here at mid-morning. And so just a culmination of all that leads to the sharp selling pressure that we're seeing here to kick off the week.
Okay, very good. Soybean meal trading with gains. Soybean oil under pressure and mixed trade in beans. Makes sense.
Yeah. So the front end of the bean market, the old crop contracts, they're favoring the upside just a little bit, but not much, a penny or two here at mid morning. So kind of favoring the soy meal trade there. Okay. New crop soybeans under a little bit of price pressure. It's kind of the same situation in the corn market too. Rather directionless, but just a modest upside bias, I would call it.
Boy, the sellers are scrambling out of the way of the buyers in the cattle complex.
Absolutely. So strong gains in live cattle futures and in feeders here to kick off the week, and I think the cash fundamentals, wholesale beef prices are strong right now. The cash market hasn't declined as much as what some anticipated it might, and that's leading to a big wave of buyer interest in the futures. Now the hogs, they continue to slide, and it's just more of the same in that market.
Brian Grady is going to be our guest this afternoon right here on AgriTalk.
Opinions expressed on AgriTalk do not necessarily reflect the views of Farm Journal Broadcasting, affiliate stations, or sponsors. Knowledge is power. We're here to charge your batteries. AgriTalk.
It's Next Gen Week here at Farm Journal Davis, and we are taking a look at some of the opportunities, some of the challenges that are out there for that up-and-coming generation, those that maybe have been making decisions in their family farm for maybe a year, maybe 5 years, but it's the next generation of leadership in these farms, and we're going to try to learn from them this week some, okay?
That sounds great. I think we should.
Well, yeah. All right. The first one that we are going to have a conversation with is Becky Nyman. She is with Nyman Dairy Farm in Hilmer, California. She joins us right now. Becky, thank you so much for making time.
Hi, Chip. So nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yep, glad that you're here. So tell me about the dairy farm first. What kind of an operation is it?
Well, our home dairy is fourth generation. So I work with my brother, and we have a Jersey farm, Jersey cows, and all of our milk goes to cheese production.
Okay. Now, the farm, how many cows?
1,200 on our home dairy. Okay. That's our generational dairy. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. And the market for milk it goes to cheese. Is it a cheese brand that we might be familiar with here in the Midwest?
Well, it goes to Hilmar cheese. Okay. So that all goes to other brands, basically. So you wouldn't see the Hilmar cheese label unless you're in Hilmar.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. All right. Have you? And has the dairy farm gotten involved in the beef on dairy genetics, or are you still, I shouldn't say still, or are you Jersey on Jersey?
No, we have gotten into the beef on dairy. Have started that toward the end of last year, and are actually doing Angus embryos. So it's not a cross; it's a full beef that we're breeding. So so far it's going well. It's a great alternative revenue stream, as many dairy farmers are having to look at those alternatives right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beef on dairy on steroids, Becky. When you go from crossbreeding to embryo transplanting those purebred or the straight black calves, that's next level, isn't it?
Yeah, and the opportunity came, and it's working out great so far. The Jersey cows can really adapt well to that. So it's working out great so far.
Okay. So the life of that calf, once it hits the ground, it comes off the cow fairly quickly, right? And then does it head to a calf ranch? What's the whole process there?
Yeah, it heads to the calf ranch, and then it's raised, and actually the embryo company, the beef company, is fully owns the animal at that point. So yeah.
Interesting. So what is your role there at Nyman Dairy Farm?
Well, like I said, I work alongside my brother, kind of a two-person team, and I would say my role is more on the business management side. He's more on the production management, but I have to deal with changing regulations. A lot of the laws and regulations in California are different than the rest of the country. So
yes, they are.
Trying to keep up to date is a challenge, but it's always interesting. There's always something. So
yeah. Yep. What about day-to-day operations? Are you out with the cows, or is it mostly on the business management side of things, Becky?
Myself is mostly on the business management. Yeah.
Gotcha.
We have great managers and staff that are milking cows, and
right.
I go out there once in a while, but most of my day is in the office.
Yep. Gotcha. So what was your path to the dairy? Was it a straight line after college, or was there a diversion, a detour before you came back to the farm? What does the path look like?
Yeah, actually for me, it wasn't necessarily an expectation of me or the plan from the day I was born that I would be back on the dairy. So after college, I actually went to work for a consumer data company.
Okay.
And worked for them in Dallas and then on to San Francisco. And it was after about 9 years that I decided I would like to move home. So that's what I did. I came back to work on the family dairy. So it's been really rewarding to come back after having a little bit of outside experience.
Yeah.
And coming back and using those skills, for the benefit of the family.
Yeah, very cool. But what was that decision process like for you, Becky, to the decision to come back to the farm? How many conversations does that take with the family before that decision is made?
Well, it wasn't an overnight decision. Things evolve, and as changes were happening both with my prior work and with the family, it was more of an evolution, and it started with just an interest. Maybe this is what I would want to do, is to move back home. Just over time, it just felt like a good fit. So that's it. Like I said, it wasn't overnight. It was, it took a little bit of time.
Right. Now you said that your working on the farm was not something that was in the plans from the day that you were born. What about for your brother, who you're working with now? Was it in his plans from the day that he was born?
Depends who you ask, probably, but I would say so. The generations before us, my grandfather's generation is especially, the boys in the family need to work on the farm, and that's what you do. So it was in his plan, and thankfully he really loves to farm and he really loves to dairy.
Good. Yeah. So you are now in a farmer leadership role in the industry. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I'm relatively new to the Checkoff organization. So in 2023, I completed my first year serving on the National Dairy Board and DMI, or Dairy Management Inc. At the end of last year, I began serving as vice chair for the U.S. Dairy Export Council.
Cool.
And at the beginning of this year, I began serving as treasurer for DMI. So my calendar has changed up a little bit in the last year.
I would imagine. Why is that important to you to be part of the leadership in the industry?
Well, I'm a bit sentimental about the industry. I grew up on the dairy, and really dairy has sustained our family for 4 generations in the United States now. So to be able to give back to the greater good for the industry is really rewarding to me. And you get it as much out of it as you give. Of course, you have to give your time and your energy, but you also learn so much, and you develop additional skills, and it really allows you to bring back those skills to your own farm. So it's just a really rewarding experience.
Yeah, very cool. Becky, as I mentioned earlier, at Farm Journal this week, we are focused on the next generation of farmers. Your generation, are there unique challenges or opportunities for younger farmers out there right now? I mean, I can think of one pretty easily. We're all talking about the need for farmers to tell their stories, and generally speaking, the established generations of farming are leaning on your generation to do that, to communicate more directly with consumers. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. If farmers don't tell their own story, when it comes to things like sustainability, somebody else will. So it's extremely important to get out there and, talk about the things you're doing on farm. And because if you don't do it, somebody will have a different narrative for your farm. And you know best what is happening on your farm. So it's extremely important to get out there and get your message out.
Well, Becky, it was sure nice to get to know you here, and good luck to you, and we'll stay in touch, okay?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. That is Becky Nyman at Nyman Dairy Farm, first vice chair at the U.S. Dairy Export Council. We needed to mention that as well. All right, Davis and I will be right back to wrap up this week's first hour of AgriTalk.
The chickens have come home to roost. Shake a leg, gang. Chip Flory, you shaking a leg this morning? Huh?
Everything is shook and ready to go.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear it. So now I know that you pine for a skid steer. Are you looking for one on tracks, or do you want a wheeled version? No?
A wheeled version would be
wheeled
just
version.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Why,
the
got
one that Pete was talking about, it's not for you.
No. Well,
Okay.
and the price tag on that one would probably make it not for me either.
Really?
Yeah.
They're going up.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. They're just
Even still.
Let's put it this way. They've gone up.
Okay.
And the recalibration on skid steers is going to have to be a little deeper if it's going to get into if there's going to be one in my barn for any period of time. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's not give up. We
Okay.
may find the right deal. May come
Okay.
along.
I'll keep watching.
You never know. You never know. Great to hear from, as you said, it's next gen week. Speaking about younger generations of farmers, the generation that's coming up.
Yeah.
A great conversation just there. Did she say 1,200 head of cattle on the home farm there?
Yeah.
1,200, bro.
Yeah.
That's the next generation stepping forward into some pretty big mucking boots.
Well, for a California dairy, for a herd of jerseys, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and up in Hilmer, that's I would say that's probably close to an average size herd for Northern California, wouldn't you say?
I have honestly no idea.
Yeah.
1,200 sounds like a whole bunch of cows to me.
But
Yep.
talk about next level on the beef on beef.
Yeah. That's not even beef on dairy. Yeah.
No, it's not even beef on dairy. It's beef on beef.
Yep.
Putting Angus calf embryos into those Jersey cows is that is quite an operation that they've got there in Hilmer and putting it together with you gotta, boy, that's gotta be, the marketing's gotta be in place. Mm-hmm. The processing, everything. I mean, you've got to have, that needs to be a vertically integrated operation there if you're going to start down that path. It's not like you start doing embryo beef calves with the idea that you're going to be able to sell those at the sale barn and make everything pay. Mm-hmm. You're going to have the whole life of that animal is going to be completely planned out before that embryo is implanted. I don't think there's any question about that. Yeah. Wow, though. Jeez.
Well, yeah, because now what she's got to do there, and I'm sure it doesn't just fall on Becky's shoulders. It falls on the crew at Nyman Farms. But now, you not only have to market your dairy, you got to market in the beef market too.
Yeah.
Who wants to have feet in both of those worlds at the same time? Man, that's a tough slog.
Exactly. And all the milk is going to the co-op there at Hilmer Cheese. And from there, it goes out and gets a different brand name put on it, and it might be Hy-Vee cheese, it might be Piggly Wiggly cheese, it might be whatever, but from there it gets a different brand name put on it, and is promoted out there. And boy, Karen Bonert, the editor of Farm Journal's Milk, is also a Jersey producer, and for the cheese market, of course, the high butter fat in those. That the jerseys produce is the reason that they're chasing it for the cheese, no doubt. Yeah.
Let's jump the tracks just a little bit. I want to get your thought on this petrodollar thing, because there was a lot of talk about China putting together BRICS, and this whole thing is there going to be a BRICS currency that's going to overtake the dollar, and it turns out they just had to wait for the 1974 legislation to sunset. Saudi Arabia apparently no longer, should they decide to reject an extension of the agreement, which I haven't even seen discussed, suddenly no longer the petrodollar agreement governs the oil trade. This seems very significant, and it kind of snuck up on me, dude. How big a deal is this?
Well, it's not like overnight the dollar is going to lose favor in the global oil trade. They're working on it. I don't think there's any question that there is a group of countries that would like to would like to take the default status of the U.S. dollar and trash it.
Mm-hmm.
And China is, I'm sure, is right at the top of the list of those that would like to see that go away and start trading in the Chinese yuan or yuan or however you say it.
Yeah.
They would like to see that process. At least they think they would like to see that happen. I don't know if they could handle the volatility that comes along with it. I don't know if they can handle the debt that comes along with with what is required to be the global's default currency for trade.
Right.
And the reason that I say the debt is just simply because of the liquidity that is required to provide the grease for that global trade machine.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that a lot of countries cannot take on.
Yeah.
You know, if you think that there's a chance that the European Union would want the euro to be the global default currency for trade, you're wrong. They don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
So you got to question, why does anybody want anything to do with being the default currency with everything that comes along with it? But there's just a lot of challenges.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for talking about that.
All right. Okay, stick around this afternoon, Davis, because we've got Brian Grady coming in. Brian, of course, is the editor of Pro Farmer. He does Markets Now for us every morning, but we'll get deep into a conversation with Brian. And tomorrow we are going to be at Merck Days at the Animal Health Center in Marshall, Minnesota, right here on AgriTalk.